Facebook groups, Slack groups, Skype groups. Are all these groups actually helpful to anybody? So I'm in a number of groups, right? And the truth is, I used to love engaging in them. I still do in some part, but I've got to be honest, I tend to find that these groups aren't really giving me any value these days. And I think it doesn't give me any value because I tend to find the people in these groups have different values to me. And I want to discuss a little bit about whether being in these groups are actually helping or hindering. Do you hit a point of diminishing returns by how much time you spend in these groups? And maybe that time can be spent doing something a bit better, I think. And look, it's not to knock these groups, because in reality, I've met some really great friends from these groups, lifelong friends I then met in person when we went to events, friends I speak to on a regular basis, high level people who not only are friends, but are brilliant sounding boards when it comes to what I want to do for my business, what decisions to make, just getting great feedback and critical opinions from people who are believable, like Ray Dalio says, believable, high-end people who have been there and done it. So I'm not knocking them completely. The issue I tend to find with all these groups is the same questions get asked again and again and again and again and again. And it just blows my mind why we keep reverting back to the same topics, the same things, the same menial, I don't know. I just don't think that having a place that feels like you're going round and round and round the bends is good for you or myself as an entrepreneur, and also for mental health as well. Seeing the same things over and over again doesn't serve me well from the time I've been in these groups. And I'm just kind of re-evaluating how useful they are, not just for me, but I'd ask you the question as well, how useful are they for you? Now, we have to address the elephant in the room. And one of the biggest elephants in these groups is media buying. Media buying. Ads. Always talking about ads. It drives me up the wall, man. Why is it that I join a group and it's supposed to be a high-level group? It's meant to be ecom killers or gods of this or the best at that or 10-figure this, 11-figure that. All the names are great, right? They're all great. But why is it then everyone just devolves the quality of content and questions, and it just devolves so much into ads? It's all about,
oh, did you see the Facebook pixel? Did anyone know why my pixel isn't working? Oh, I tried to upload this and my business manager gave me this problem. Or, oh, Stripe sent me another thing. Can anyone help me out?
all the time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these things, right? Yes, seek help when you need help. I'm sure in these groups, there are people who can help you infinitely. But when a group sells itself, right, at being a high-level thing, and you can see my frustration with this, it sells itself as this is a high-level group. We have these top players in there. And all people do is ask the same menial problems that keep coming over and over and over again. I just think to myself, what the hell are we doing here? What are we doing here? Are we CEOs or are we CMOs? What are we? What are you? What do you want to be? Are you a CEO or are you a CMO? Are you in the business of business or are you in the business of marketing? Now, I can have empathy because what we do in ecom, where the rubber meets the road, is the ads. I get it. And you need to be running ads at scale. And I love ads. I love marketing. I'm not saying anything against it. That's how I built my business. But at some point, you've got to make your decision for Christ. You do, as it says in the great film Glenn Ross.
Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ?
You have to make your decision for Christ. Do you want to step up? And there are levels to this game. There are ladders that have to be climbed if you're going to become a brilliant entrepreneur. And one of the biggest ladders, one of the biggest hurdles that we need to climb in this game of e-commerce is jumping from being the guy who focuses on ads, i.e. the CMO, to the guy who runs the business, the guy who's responsible, or gal, who's responsible for absolutely nailing the business as a whole. If your business is just marketing, then you are a CMO, not a CEO. And I'll do one little trick you can run right now in any of these groups, whether it's Skype, whether it's Slack, whether it's Facebook. You go in the group, and obviously Facebook's a bit different, but you'll get the gist. Go into your Skype group or Slack group, do Control F and type in Control F CEO. Go on, go do it right now. And you tell me on a keyword how many times the term CEO is mentioned. How many times? Because I promise you it's going to be pretty much next to nothing. Now put in there Facebook or FB or ads, ADS. Put any of those other keywords in there and you will have hundreds, if not thousands of mentions. So I think it kind of proves my point. If your focus is being the CEO, why is it that you're in all these groups that only talk about marketing and ads? If you want to be the guy, the head honcho, the pinnacle, the coup de grace, why is your focus not at all on what it takes to be a great CEO? All your focus is in marketing, is in ads. And this is the real root problem I see with all these groups. And ultimately, like I said earlier, it boils down to the one word that cannot be ignored: values. What are your values? Now, I ask a lot of questions now when I join a group. I want to know what and who is in the group, who they are, and what their values are. Because if they are not aiming for the same goals as me, you don't have to have exactly the same financial goals, but you have to be in the same stratosphere at least. If you're in a group, and for example, my goal is to be a 9, 10, 11 figure CEO. If I'm speaking to somebody who after 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 years only wants to reach, I want to cash out of my business and make, 8, 9, 10 million, and I'm sitting there talking from a point of view of making hundreds of millions or billions, me and that person are not going to be sharing the right values. It's just a fact. I'm not trying to knock anybody who has that level of ambition. And if you're making, after 4, 5, 6 years, 10, 15 million and you cash out and you sell your brand, kudos to you, respect. I tip my hat to you, sir, I do. But when you're on that journey versus someone else on a journey trying to hit 9, 10, 11 figures, the things you value, the things you think about, the higher level brain power and mind mapping that you're using is on a completely other level compared to what that other person is trying to do. It's just a fact. So in England, in English, we have a phrase: birds of a feather flock together. And when you're in these groups, you have such a myriad of people with goals and values and philosophies and people they listen to and things they want to do and executions and strategies, throwing info out there and expecting to get results and good, let's say, feedback and advice from people who share different values to you, different goals to you, different philosophies to you. All you're doing in these groups are wasting your time. Less is more. Less is more. Go find the people that match. And if you want to talk marketing all day, great. Go find a group that does that. But don't come into these higher level groups and infest it with low level thinking, because it's driving me mad. And now I'm at the point where I'm just going to make my own groups. I'm just going to do my own, because I can't seem to find people that I vibe with. I can't. I struggle with it. And if you struggle with it too, I feel you. I really, really do. And lastly, I'd like to challenge you. If you're spending a huge amount of time in these groups, communicating, talking, connecting, and you should make friends, make pals. E-commerce is a lonely place. We're all behind our keyboards, typing, doing our own thing in a very solemn, siloed way. I agree, especially when you work in remote. I agree. But if you're spending more time talking to people in these groups versus talking to your own freaking team, if you're spending more time asking questions and engaging and cracking jokes in these groups versus hiring top people and giving them your time, energy, and attention, you are lost, my friend. You are lost. You should be taking that same energy, that same drive of all the engagement you have in these groups. You should be taking that and finding a bunch of people who you can bring onto your side, who you can convince to join your mission, and you should spend 90% of your time on them. You should be spending the time in that group with them, your own Slack, your own Skype. You should be having calls with them all the time. Because if you're the CEO, you're meant to be what? The chief executive officer. The chief marketing officer spends 80 to 90% of their time on marketing. The chief operating officer spends 80 to 90% of their time operating. That's where they put their energy. So if you're the chief executive officer, you should be spending 80 to 90% of your time communicating with your who? Executives. You're meant to be the chief of them. The chief of marketing is the chief of marketing. The chief of operations is the chief of operations. The chief executive officer is the chief of all those people. So your time should be spent with them. That's all I have to say on the matter. Sorry if I got a bit animated, but it's a passionate topic for me. I think it's really leading people down a dark rabbit hole that they can't seem to get back up from, and they're spending their time in the wrong places. And it's to the detriment of who you could be as a brilliant entrepreneur. So I hope you took it in good faith, because I'm coming from that place. Thanks very much for watching the content. I appreciate your time and attention. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to never miss a video. And somewhere around here, there's going to be some more great content for you to watch. Enjoy that too, and I'll see you on the next one.